All right. This is a backwards FOIL. So what are they doing with these questions? They're just trying to get you familiar with doing algebra with the trig functions in place of the x's. So you have x squared minus x minus 30. So you're unfoiling this. It's been foiled already. You're splitting it back apart. So the way you did this when you were freshman algebra and probably had to do this millions of times, because I remember doing that, you would make two little windows like this. And then you'd ask, well, what two things do I have to put there to make the tan square appear? Well, tangent and tangent as the first two will make the tangent squared appear. Then you take that last number, which is 30, and you look at ways to factor out 30. 30 could be 6 times 5, 1 times 30, 10 times 3, 2 times 15. So you break down all the factors, and I'm just going to pull that 6 times 5. And you guess and test. It's basically a guess and test. So you go foil it. Foil out your terms, and this is the terms I get. Tan squared setup works. 30 back here setup, because I picked it so. So my numbers were picked so that the first two and the last two were right on target. So I now have to check the outer and the inner so that they add up to be minus tan. And I can see that if I put a negative here and a positive here, it'll add up to be minus 10. Right? There you go. So it's a backward process. You're going from something that's foiled out and thinking backwards. And people like factoring. I didn't particularly like it, but people like it because of that satisfying feeling when you get it factored right. I see some nods of the head, so some of you like that. That's crazy. And so that's your final answer. And it's a match to what the WebAssign says. That's what I want to use WebAssign for, as a tool. I've tried to use it as an assignment in the class. It's just not good. Okay, composite functions. After the composite functions, we'll do an in-class assignment, and if we have time after that, we'll go back to more of this. So composite function, that little circle, what that means is you're taking one function and sticking it into the other function. So the first step for finding f composed of g is taking g and substituting it in for the t on the f function. So wherever you used to see the t, f of t is cosine t, you put the g. So you substitute g inside for the t. And then you take the expression for g of t and substitute that in for the actual g of t symbol. And notice that the green key is right up there, cosine 2t plus 7. So we're already halfway there. G composed with f is the other way around, same steps. You take f and you plug it in for t. So I did that, g of t is 2t plus 7. I put in, instead of t, I put in f of t. And then I take the expression for f of t and I substitute that in. So I get 2 cosine t plus 7. And you see on the green key problem, 2 cosine t plus 7. I have a 9th grade son, and he always says, why do you take so many steps? And I said, well, first of all, I get done before you, because I'm not backtracking, figuring out, well, what did I write there? I don't know what I wrote here. I have everything laid out, I know where I wrote it. Second, I always get it right. He didn't say anything back. So, I mean, I asked students before, why do you not take all the steps? Because that's the biggest problem. Part of PreCalc is bookkeeping. And I asked them, why do you not take steps? I asked my sister, she was in the class, and said, why don't you take all the steps? And she said, I feel like I'm pressured for time, and so I feel like I'm saving time by not putting all the steps because I'm rushing through to get the test or quiz done. And I told her, but you got it wrong anyway, so you got everything wrong. So might as well get the steps and go for partial credit. That was my reasoning. But her and I did this little test where she would sit and do the problem with skipping steps, and I would do the problem filling in steps, and I did indeed end the problem before her. And it wasn't because I write faster, it was just because I could track what I was doing. And she was like, oh, what am I doing here? You know, if the problem got too long, she couldn't keep track of it. And my Calc 2 students call that bookkeeping. It's bookkeeping. It's boring old bookkeeping. But it's satisfying to get 100 on a test. Very, very satisfying. So if you want to get 100, that's how to do it. Just bookkeep, put in all your steps, write it down, and you will get it right. It's worth it. Okay, number 6 is very similar. I'm going to do that for you later, but let's stop for